effectively finds that way to engage and hook students in, and then it has students capitalize on those passions. She received her BA in French Studies and her BEd in 2014 from Brock University. She's facilitated many workshops within HWDSB as well as outside of HWDSB, both for EPFO in summer institutes and also recently a presentation at the Code Conference. When I asked Tessa a little bit about why she chooses to approach teaching the way that she does, she had shared with me that when there is the opportunity for students to engage in real-life authentic learning opportunities, and it's done in a way that is integrated across multiple subject areas, she says students are incredibly hopeful, and they are armed with extremely powerful tools to make change. Not only change within the school and within the classroom, but change within the broader community. And we know that life is integrated. Oh, someone was telling me it was time to be done. I lost my microphone for a moment. We know that life is integrated. It's not divided into separate segmented subject areas. And so learning in that way allows the students to directly take their skills and to be able to transfer them. In the short period of time that Tessa and I had the opportunity to speak, I could hear that she was a very thoughtful, reflective practitioner who thinks about the students who are in front of her each and every day and then looks for creative and innovative ways in order to reach them and to connect and to make the learning meaningful. So Tessa, thank you for all of the unbelievable work that you are doing in a second language, I might add, for students at AM Cunningham. Congratulations on being featured, and congratulations on your Profiling Excellence Award this evening. And Madam Chair, that concludes Profiling Excellence for February.
Thank you. You're welcome to stay. You're also welcome to go. So with that, I'll ask trustees to now turn to approval of the agenda, item number 4. And looking for a motion. Thank you, Trustee Archer, seconded by Trustee Danko. All in favor? That is unanimous. I'll now ask if there's any conflicts of interest. I did not receive any written notices as is required now under the Education Act. Seeing none, we'll move along. Confirmation of the minutes, and I'll give trustees a few moments to look over February 10th board meeting. And seeing no comments, we'll move straight through to correspondence from Waterloo Region District School Board regarding health concern facing school communities, vaping and vape products. So traditionally, trustees would normally look to receive and file. I would take a motion to receive and file unless there's another motion. Trustee Tutt.
I move a motion to receive and file.
Thank you. Seconded by Trustee Deeth. And is there questions or comments? Trustee Deeth.
If we wanted to look at creating our own letter in support of this, would that have to be a motion on the floor now?
Do you want to speak into, the guidance would be, because we have a current motion on the floor, is that trustees could either, Trustee Tutt could withdraw and a new motion could come forward to craft a letter, or we could proceed with a vote and on this current one, and if it fails, then we could we not just have a second, no. So that would be your options, would be to either withdraw it and have a new motion come to the floor, or trustees can vote on the current one. Trustee Tutt.
I'm happy to withdraw my motion.
Would you like to make a new motion to receive, file, and write our own letter?
I would be willing to put forward a motion to receive, file, and draft a letter in support.
All right, seconded by trustee Deeth. Any further questions at this time? Seeing none, I will note, just because student trustee Prozik is not here, he did speak on the agenda, I think 2 months ago or a month ago on this very topic, and he spoke quite eloquently. So perhaps we can speak to him about what might be included in this letter. Yes, trustee Deeth?
I just wanted, because one point of it talks about the age of not just vaping, sorry, but the age which is currently 16 for tobacco products. And I see part of this letter is asking them to move the age up to 21. So I think that, I mean, I don't know when the law was created around at 16, but we know adolescence has changed. Adolescence has now expanded to almost 29, and we know that the function of the brain and everything else. So I think that's an important piece that I'd like to confirm, not just about the vaping, which we know is a big problem, but also supporting around moving the age to 21.
Thank you, that has been noted, and I see our trustee liaison officer making notes as well. Further comments, trustee Mulholland?
Thank you. First time I read this letter, and we're going to write a letter supporting it. But I read here, it says that vape products has quickly become the #1 threat. I don't think it is a #1 threat. What has proven that statement? So I have concerns about the letter. I mean, I think we should have maybe sent it to a committee, and we could have dealt with it at a committee, but has everyone read this letter, word for word?
So I think what we, sorry.
So I can't accept it, not knowing if it is the #1 threat. I'd like to receive the file, but if someone sends it to the committee, that's fine. Thank you.
So I think what we can do, because in terms of the language can be our own language, so that we write, so if there's any points in here that you would like to change or have concerns with, you can email that to our trustee liaison officer, Heather Miller, and we can create our own letter that represents our voice there, okay? Any further comments? Well, so,
That's what you were saying there.
So,
You're going to change this letter, but the motion is to receive this letter, and
so
what
the
are we doing?
motion is to receive and file as we normally would with most correspondence that we receive, as well as to write our own letter supporting concerns around vaping and communicating concerns around vaping on health and well-being to students. So with regards to what goes into that letter, we can, it does not need to go to a full committee. That in terms of the specific content, if there's an area that you have concern with, and we have noted what your concern was, then we can not include that in our own letter. Further questions? Comments? Seeing none. Trustee Galindo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to provide some brief comments on this. Coincidentally, I know that the student trustee Cameron Prozik and I have actually worked on this in the past through our association and work on with tobacco control through Hamilton Public Health Services. Cameron has been trustee Prozik has been a leader locally and nationally on policy enhancements to the current issue of vaping. Now, just to give a brief overview around vaping companies are an extension of big tobacco, and the big threat is that vaping is often seen within young people as a gateway opportunity into tobacco smoking. So to speak to the point around it being one of the #1 threats to student health and well-being, one is the increased amount of research out there legitimizing the health risks, but also its association with increasing rates of youth smoking across Canada. Now, provincially, there was legislation that was introduced, I believe in the last year, that actually mandated a lot of the same policies be tied with tobacco. So, for example, legally, if you're not 18, you cannot purchase vaping products. In convenience stores, a lot of the same advertisement restrictions have also been applied to vaping products as are for tobacco, where they're no longer easily accessible or visible in stores. So there has been a lot of work that's been done provincially, in big part thanks to a lot of the research that's come out, but also a lot of the advocacy that's been done through local health agencies such as Unfiltered Facts, and like I said, giving more credit to Student Trustee Prozik. So, I mean, I'm happy to support the letter. I'm happy to reiterate a lot of the concerns and comments that were made. My recommendation would be that we work with Student Trustee Prozik on the language, but aside from that, why not? Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments to writing a letter with regards to our concerns around vaping? Echoing concerns. Seeing none, all in favor? The motion, that is Trustees Archer, Galindo, Miller, Pagan-Miller, Danko, Johnstone, Tutt, Buck, Student Trustee Prozik, Student Trustee Meddy, and Trustee Deeth. Those against? Trustee Mulholland, the motion carries. Thank you, trustees. Moving along to reports from trustee special committees, finance and facilities. Trustee Danko, would you please bring forward the report from February 13th?
Thank you. Through the chair, trustees will see before you the report from our February 13th meeting. We do have an action item, and that is to approve the key parameters and assumptions to guide the 2021 budget development. So as you'll recall, the key parameters and assumptions are identified each year, and they're the basis to begin the development of this following year's budget. Our budget does need to be approved by June. And if you'll turn the page over, we have a couple of items that are summarized for you nicely here. So you'll see under the background that we have timelines that are identified from February to June. You'll see that we have enrollment projections that are the basis for our preliminary assumptions. And so these calculations are based on historical enrollment trends and retention rates. And you can see we have some small increases, which is great news. But we will also potentially see these numbers shift a little bit as we have principals validate the numbers in early March. You'll see the assumption that we're assuming at this point that the grant for student needs, or the GSN, will reflect a projected 0% change, but that will be subject to the ministry confirming that. And you'll see notes about expenditures or allocation parameters. So I am happy to take any questions, of course, but that is what we are looking to approve tonight. You'll also see that we have two monitoring items. So we did receive the interim financial status report, and that is always presented to us this time of year, and it's based on the information that's available and assumptions as of November 30th, 2019. Let's see. So you'll note that when you look at our report, that even though we have revenue increases due to changes in enrollment and funding allocations, whenever we do have those increases, we also have corresponding expenditures. So the good news is we are still on track to have a balanced budget for this current school year. And for future meeting dates for budget development were reviewed by the committee, and that will start to become closer to weekly after March break. With that, I would like to move the report.
Thank you, Trustee Danko. Looking for a secondary, Trustee Galindo. So this is a motion to approve. Any questions or comments to the report? Seeing none, all in favor, motion to approve. That is unanimous. Thank you, trustees. Moving along to item 9, secondary French immersion boundary review. And I'll turn to Director Figueredo to bring forward the report.
So thank you through the chair. Before I pass it on to Superintendent Dunlop, just a correction here that it's a report to the board, not to finance and facilities. And what I want to thank Superintendent Sue Dunlop and also our planning staff who provided support around numbers here, but what trustees will see in front of them is a recommended action for a boundary change, and I will pass over to Superintendent Sue Dunlop to present the report and Superintendent Paul Denemy. Thank you.
Thank you, and through the chair, it's recommended that the secondary French immersion boundary between Westdale and Sherwood be approved to align secondary boundaries with elementary FI boundaries. You'll see on your screen the proposed boundary change as identified in the map, with the current boundaries with the dark black line and the proposed boundaries with the pink mauve line. The current secondary FI boundary divides Bonetto Elementary FI boundary at Wentworth Street North. As a result, Bonetto Elementary FI students east of Wentworth Street would graduate into Sherwood and west of Wentworth Street into Westdale. Adjusting the boundary creates a clear associated path for students and their families and allows the cohort to remain together as they transition to secondary school. Following the boundary review policy and procedure, the advisory panel was struck that included representation from the impacted secondary and elementary schools. The advisory panel met twice, January 29th and February 6th, and a public consultation meeting was held on February the 6th, 2020. Staff called all families impacted by the proposed change, and 3 members of the public attended the public meeting. The boundary change was discussed at the advisory and public meetings, and the following themes emerged from the feedback gathered. Alignment with the elementary boundary made sense, recognition of minimal number of students impacted, and discussion of what considerations could be provided to students impacted by the change to current boundary assignments and pathways. Trustees will notice on the report on page 3 that initial observations from the staff that include the 14 impacted students within that boundary.
Sorry, is there, does that conclude the report then?
That concludes
Okay.
our report.
Sorry about that. So I'll turn to trustees at this point. Is there any questions, comments? Trustee Danko.
Thank you, and through the chair, we usually have a consideration for students who have a sibling in a specific school when we do boundary reviews. Are we going to follow a sibling rule for this, if that would be appropriate, or is this not going to be an impact because of the changes in French immersion just sort of working their way through the elementary schools and students haven't hit high school yet?
Through the chair, I can respond to that. So the numbers that you see on page 3 of the report include families. Siblings are included in there. So it isn't 14 separate families, I can tell you that. And so some will be, as you described, through the regular process of progressing through grades, and others are directly impacted and will be offered consideration. So it is a grouping of families there.
Further questions from trustees? All right. Trustee Deeth.
Through the chair, could you just confirm the where we are with Westdale and Sherwood in enrollment numbers? Are we? I know Westdale, are we at capacity, over capacity on that school, and with both of them?
Superintendent?
So I don't have exact numbers in front of me, unfortunately. I know that Westdale does have a very robust French immersion program from grades 9 to 12. I think at about 400 students enrolled in French immersion. I'll leave Superintendent Denemy to respond about Sherwood.
Sherwood would have about the same numbers within their FI program, and they are currently not over capacity within the building. They are about 1,300 students.
Further questions? Okay, seeing none on the motion to approve the recommended action that the secondary FI boundaries between Westdale and Sherwood be approved to align with the secondary boundaries with elementary FI boundaries. So that was, I need a motioner. Trustee Buck, seconded by Trustee Deeth. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, trustees. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to move in camera. Thank you, Trustee D, seconded by Trustee Paikin-Miller. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Welcome back. Can we have a report from the Committee of the Whole from earlier this evening? Vice Chair Danko?
Thank you. Through the chair, it is my pleasure to present the report of the private session of the Committee of the Whole held earlier this evening. That the Finance and Facilities Committee report from February 13th, 2020 be approved, including a property matter related to Delta Secondary School entering Phase 2 of the Property Disposition Protocol in accordance with Ontario Regulation 44498.
Thank you, Vice Chair Danko. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Trustee Galindo. Any comments or questions to the private session report? Or the what is it? Committee of the Whole. Seeing none, all in favor of receiving the report, that is unanimous. Thank you, trustees. Moving along to oral reports. Student trustee report, turning to student trustee Prozik.
All right, I'll go first. Thank you. And through the chair, we are happy to announce that we recently yesterday just got back from our board council conference with the Ontario Student Trustees Association, which was incredible. Got some really good professional development out of it. There was a lot of interactive sessions, including that sessions from OFIA and People for Education, Annie Kidder, and OFIA's Joanne. I'm not sure her last name, but it was pretty engaging, and we were able to provide feedback on a lot of provincial education issues that student trustees were really engaged in, and as well we got to do a lot of networking and learned a lot about other boards and how they run their student senates and stuff like that we can bring back here and kind of improve our practices here. So happy that we were able to attend that.
Thank you. And through the chair, in regards to our Senate, on February 13th, we held our annual Take the Lead conference with our secondary Senate, as well as students from across secondary schools. And we just wanted to say thank you to Trustee Dee for showing her support for the event. That was amazing. And we also want to say thanks to a lot of our staff for holding workshops. We got a lot of positive feedback from a survey that we did in regards to the event. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? I know I have one. I'm curious to know what Annie Kidder had to say at Osteaco conference.
I'm sure student trustee Mehdi can speak to this as well, because I had to step out of the room about halfway through the presentation, but it was really engaging. She got a lot of feedback as to what the student trustees felt like were basic skills needed for the 21st century. We did a few word cloud activities as well. She taught us about the new basics presented by People for Education, and we learned a lot about kind of what went into that report. And then she said she's going to take that feedback away and kind of brainstorm how they can work that into their strategies as well. And then you want to add anything?
And she spoke a lot about the importance of student voice in these recent cuts to education, as well as kind of the economic impacts of investments in education, as well as informing us of things like how investing in education actually benefits our economy in the long term, that kind of thing.
Thank you. I see it's provoked Trustee Deeth to ask a question.
Actually, it's in regards to the Take the Lead conference that you held, and I just want to say it was wonderfully well run and great learning, and I heard great comments and feedback even from a teacher that attended who was taking notes and had learned something that he was going to take back to his classroom. I want to thank staff who were involved in that, because the workshops were really, really well done. So great job.
All right. Moving along to director's report.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll be brief. I want to really highlight three areas. As trustees know, that the Safe Schools Review Panel has commenced their work. As I speak tonight, they're listening to conversation with a specific population tonight, our LGBTQI2S plus community. There's been general sessions that have engaged so far, as well with our Black community, our Jewish community, and our students with special needs. The work continues, and we are still on track to bring an interim update by the end of May to the trustees. They are courageous conversations, hard conversations, but from what I've seen from the panel and Kojo Institute, that some great work and recommendations are going to come forward for us all to learn and move forward. In addition, staff has been focused, as We know that the challenge with provincial bargaining and job sanctions, but our focus around this team is to ensure that we're focused on student safety, that the learning continues, and that we can maintain local relationships throughout this challenging time. As a result, though, we need to keep on focusing on our goals, and our 2 goals around reading. We'll be doing a monitoring of where we're at with sort of progress monitoring heading into next month at our quarterly review, and also in terms of how we're progressing with students in terms of their graduation goal. That still needs to be the focus of our work as we move through these job sanctions, and that's my report this evening.
Thank you, Director. Questions? Seeing none. Chair's report. So I'll just, first and foremost, I'd like to congratulate on behalf of the Board of Trustees, Grandma Archer. Trustee Archer became a grandmother. Trustee Archer, do you want to just quickly state, just tell us about your new grandchild?
Thank you. Grayson Aiden was born at 10:44 Valentine's Eve, and yes, he was a quick arrival, and 7 pounds 10 ounces. Thank you, everybody, for your concerns. He's precious, and we're spending a lot of time with him. Tomorrow's my day to spend with him, and officially I get to babysit him the last Saturday of March while my husband, the proud Papa Archie, and the parents get to go to a Blue Jays game for bobblehead. Or for Aiden instead of Grayson, but anyway. Thank you.
Well, that's fantastic. We're all very excited for you, Grandma Archer. Trustees have participated in all kinds of events since we last, I guess, had a report. So just on Saturday, many of the trustees around the table participated in Coldest Night of the Year. There was trustees participating in the United Way Unignorable campaign. Trustees participated in the student-led Model City Hall Hamilton, in John C. Holland Awards, in hometown hockey games, as well as Robotics Ontario competitions, attending our local high school sport competitions. Trustees were showing support for Prom Project, as well as we had trustees in attendance for the Memorandum of Understanding signed with Mohawk College regarding climate change. And then I'll also state that trustees were welcomed the approval of 2 of our significant capital requests for Mount Albion and Collegiate. We look forward to the school renewal taking place in that area. So thank you so much to trustees Paik and Miller and trustees Galindo, who certainly worked with their communities and helped to champion student voice. And also a very special thank you to MPP Miller, who also helped to really see these projects come to fruition. And finally, of course, we thank MPP Skelly as well as the minister in terms of approving these. So we were excited to get those approval and thankful that we're able to take advantage of these construction seasons. And then finally, I am just going to provide a note on the coronavirus. As we did I had an opportunity to meet the chief medical officer on Friday night, and I did retweet OPSPA's comments and her comments, which is the #1 way to counter is to wash your hands, because that's the top way that the virus is spreading. So wash your hands and get your flu shot. And if you're going to cough into your elbow and not into your hand. And those were her words of advice. So seems simple enough, but just to maybe encourage your school communities to wash their hands. Maybe there's a TikTok video for that. I don't know. Anyway, on that, I will end, and concludes my report. Any questions? Seeing none, motion to adjourn. Thank you, Trustee Tutts, seconded by Trustee Pagan-Miller. All in favor. Trustee Mulholland's already out of the room. That is unanimous.